Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and this is Taking Care of Business. Joining me today is Christa Sanders, who is Economic Development Officer for the City of Airdrie. Thanks for joining us today, Christa.
Thanks for having me, Mario.
Well, Airdrie recently put out a new growth report. I believe it's the first growth report you've put out. Tell me what some of the key findings are from that report from your perspective.
Yeah, the report really identified the opportunities that are existing out there in terms of development. We really have a pent-up demand for that medium and heavy industrial that is available in that East Points community area structure plan. It also really does a good job of identifying the opportunities in the redevelopment, specifically in our downtown, and speculative construction with our low vacancy rates. And so just immense opportunity in the short to midterm, but also one of my favorites is the long-term opportunities. We're probably one of the last frontiers where there's still opportunity for land assembly. So our planning department putting through 5,000 acres over the last 12 months. And so much of that land is still privately owned. I think it's a real exciting opportunity when developers and investors are out there looking for that new next best thing. So
let's talk about a couple of the key areas. Obviously, number one was fueling a lot of stuff is population, right? Can you talk a little bit about Airdrie's population growth and why it's been a growing community, city?
Yeah, like when you look at our numbers, over 20 years, it's a 7% annual growth rate average year over year, over a 20-year span. And I think that that's exceptional. I don't know how many other cities nationally can even come close to those numbers on a consistent level. And I think we've just been quietly adding to our population year after year after year. And it's really driven by affordability. So when you look at Calgary, yes, Calgary is definitely affordable, but that's kind of that extra special quality about Airdrie. We can still give you that quality of life. And yet, you know, our benchmark average prices, according to CREB, we're still about 100,000 less than average and benchmark than Calgary. So yeah,
that's obvious.
That's you know, with that quality of life, it's pretty phenomenal.
That is a big drawing card, isn't it? Like when you have prices at that range and so close to the city, if you're working in Calgary, for example. Yep. Let's talk about the business community in Airdrie. Why have you seen growth in the number of businesses there? You know, I know that I've talked about this subject many times over the years, especially when it comes to your neighbors in Rocky View County and Balzac and how much business it is attracting that area. But what are the key factors attracting business growth to Airdrie?
Well, it's our population. It's the critical mass base that we already have in existence. I mean, we have exceptional entrepreneurs, exceptional residents within the community, and it's really driving that consumer demand. So, you know, while there definitely was hardships over the pandemic, I was really pleased to see when we started crunching those numbers that, hey, we actually, we've come out of it pretty good with still opportunity to grow. So yeah.
And what are some of the advantages of a business? If I wanted to set up Mario Toneguzzi's plumbing in downtown Airdrie, what are the advantages for me as a business owner?
Well, definitely. I mean, when you compare our taxes, we're relatively one of the lowest in the province. We're streamlining all of our application processes. We're, you know, working with the chamber to even further and advance those solutions towards making it more conducive to business and definitely providing more certainty to business owners. You know, and for the fact, especially on that end, we already have such a large cluster of construction activity, you know, other businesses to support your business. And of course, the population. It always comes down to that. So, yeah.
Now, there is no business tax in Airdrie, is there?
There isn't, but that's pretty common throughout the province. If we were to look outside of the province, it's definitely still an advantage. But within the province, Alberta has really amped up their game, which is that's an exciting opportunity for the entire province, right? So yeah,
exactly. So Christa, if I had you in a room with a business from Ontario looking to relocate, what would you tell them?
You see, this is where the excitement comes in, especially if it's a larger organization with the propensity to hold the real estate. So when you look at that as well, and that is an advantage that Airdrie has that kind of puts us in a different segment. Our land values are a little bit more attainable. They're they're a little bit more cost effective. That would apply to a pro forma, if you know what I'm saying. So we really have that affordability aspect. Yeah.
So it's interesting times, that Airdrie has faced in the last couple of years, and man, it's looking positive and great going into the future, isn't it?
It really is. So right now, we really do need to focus on getting those lands serviced, to be providing those opportunities to end users, and of course, inciting some speculative construction, because we have such low vacancy rates. And so that is one of our prime focuses right now. We do need to start building up our inventory to be able to properly court a large business that wants to be here, because it does make sense to be here. So we are actually at that point in time where we get inquiries quite regularly, and we have to say, hey, we're not quite there. We need some construction up, we need some vertical showing, and we need some of those service lands. And I think we're just on the cusp.
All right, super. Thanks, Christa, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mario.
All right, that was Christa Sanders, who is a economic development officer with the City of Airdrie. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This is Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us.